This is where he freaked out and stabbed his mother to death and his sister almost to death. This is Mooney Dashcam. Tonight we're in Babylon, Long Island. We're going to be talking about the man who, over a pretty mundane argument, stabbed his elderly mother and his disabled sister before going on the run, having to have canines and helicopters try and find him. We're going to go to the house where this all happened, so let's flip this around and get into it. This incident happened in 2014, and the address that we're going to is 358 Livingston Avenue in Babylon. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram. I post on there pretty much every single day. Any crime scene photos that cannot go on YouTube end up on the Instagram, so check that out. Also, hit the notification bell so you guys can see exactly when I post a new video. And don't forget to leave suggestions for future videos in the comments. I very much appreciate that. I get a lot of inspiration that way. So let's get into this story a little bit. Joseph was adopted as a young child to Mina Kearns and Joseph Kearns. He was one of 15 siblings. He struggled with mental health problems for most of his life. His mother was always there to take care of him. He was on daily medication and he was seeing a psychiatrist regularly for most of his life. During this incident, he's 33 years old. His sister said he did not leave his room much. Most of the family actually didn't visit the house because of Joseph's frightening behavior, says the sister Kathleen. At the time, the people living in the house are his 79-year-old mother, Mina, and his 59-year-old sister, Kathleen Kearns, who was disabled with MS. She walked with a cane. Now, he would occasionally have outbursts. That kind of comes with most people that have mental health issues. But on September 11th, the night before the attack, this was not your regular outburst. Kathleen and the mother were watching TV when Joseph came in the room, sat down, and just stared at them in a threatening manner. Now, he looks like a pretty menacing person. From the pictures I could see, he looks pretty big. And as you'd imagine, an elderly mother and a disabled sister would be pretty frightened by that. And historically, if he's a little bit erratic, then that's even more cause for concern. After that, Kathleen went outside to make a phone call. Then she hears commotion inside and he yells, "What are you gonna do, call the police?" I'm not sure if she called the police, this part's not very clear, but the police eventually arrive, but Joseph is nowhere to be found. He already left. Wow, look at that big dog. The mother had a soft spot for Joseph, as all mothers do for their sons and daughters, for any of their children. So Kathleen was freaking out a bit about the situation, and the mother was calming her down, saying that Joseph would calm down. She was still protecting him after he was not the greatest person to live with. I can imagine that it's not an easy situation to handle. So that's all settled. They all go to sleep. Early the next morning, around 7 a.m., the mother is talking to him about if he's on the right medication, because obviously he had this outburst the night before and she wants to have a discussion about this, which to me seems pretty reasonable after the police were called for an outburst. That seems like the next common sense step right there, just to talk about what medications you're on. That discussion turned into an argument, and Joseph loses it, goes into a rage, grabbing a knife, stabbing his elderly mother more than 20 times in the torso. This is all going on while Kathleen is sound asleep. A couple more blocks here will be to the house where this all went on. She wakes up to Joseph over her, stabbing her in the eye and in the head. He eventually stops once Kathleen stops moving, and he leaves the room, thinking he just killed his sister. She then managed to get up and leave the room, But Joseph saw her and said to her, "You're not dead yet?" before grabbing her cane and bashing her head in until she pretended that she was dead again, and then he walked away. She said at that time that she already knew that her mother was dead. She waited until she felt it was safe laying there, pretty much playing dead. She said she thinks her mother's spirit is what helped her get up in that moment to be able to call for help. The police arrive at about 7:20 a.m. and Joseph is nowhere to be found. His mother is transported to Good Samaritan Hospital where she's pronounced dead. Kathleen has serious injuries. She's in stable condition. She has wounds to her face, head, and the front and back of her torso. Now this is pretty serious. This is a murder and attempted murder, so the police call in everything they could think of. They get canines, they get helicopters to go on and search for this escaped murder suspect. Later that day he gets arrested and he gets charged with second-degree murder and second-degree attempted murder, and I believe there was an assault charge in there also. While he was in court, he says, in quotes, "Does this mean the end of my life? Because of my mental illness, if I'm improved, will I somehow get out?" He said he received Social Security disability benefits for mental problems. Actually, when he was caught, he asked if they were okay. Did he actually mean that? I don't know. Did he maybe come out of a little bit of a haze that he was in and realize what he did and then felt bad about it? It's very possible. I'm not sure. But he also did stab his sister, then realized she was alive and said, "You're not dead yet?" So I don't know if you could believe much that comes out of his mouth at this point. The house is at the end of this block to the right up here. His attorney said that he had psychiatric history since his youth and he had depression and anxiety. I don't know about you. I know quite a few people with depression and anxiety, or one or the other, and they don't stab their family. So clearly there was something else going on. Who knows? June 22nd, 2015, he was sentenced to 20 years to life for murder and 5 to 15 years for attempted murder to be served concurrently. The house is right up here to the left. It doesn't look like anybody lives here. Usually these houses are hard to sell, considering that there was a murder here. It's actually a pretty big, nice house. We'll hop out here and check it out. This is where this went on. Yeah, it doesn't look like anyone's living here now. Sometimes I get a little used to these videos that I do, because I do them so often that I forget that they're actually real places and real things that have happened. Like a real horrible event happened here. But I'm at these places a couple times a week, so it's hard to have that sink in. And I'm sure you guys watching at home have that same feeling where it doesn't feel very real. But this is where he freaked out and stabbed his mother to death and his sister almost to death. There's actually a picture from like this angle with a cop car outside the home. There's like a Subaru in the driveway. It's like that. Say hi to the truck, by the way. It's always creepy out here in these suburban neighborhoods at night, filming a murder scene. No matter how many times I do it, it's still always creepy. You can see there was a ramp that was most likely for the sister. Like I said, it's hard to imagine. This is where that horrible thing happened. It looks like just a regular house now. But it definitely is not just a regular house. And we're in a nice neighborhood too. Babylon is a nice area. Not this block specifically, but there's very historical houses over here. We're right by the water. I don't know if you noticed when I started the video that I pretty much drove straight from the edge of the water to over here. It's only about a 9-minute drive. So while he was in court, he said a few things. He said that he just lost control of himself because he thought his family was trying to put him in a mental health facility. A lot of these times, that is where a lot of this anger comes from with people that have mental health issues. Because maybe their family is trying to get them help, and maybe that's part of the solution, and maybe it was talked about. And they do not want that. Most people don't want to be put in a facility of any kind. He said, "I thought my mom and sister were the enemy, and I snapped." Supreme Court Justice Ambrose said, "All your mom tried to do was help you. You devastated this family. They're terrified." One of these sisters, 56-year-old Peggy Parrish, said, "Joseph took away my feelings of safety and security. He took away my mom." That was his older sister. The oldest of the sisters was the sister Kathleen that got stabbed. She sent a letter into court because she couldn't attend because her pre-existing disability, and it wasn't made any better by this attack. And I already read you most of the stuff. Her letter included her account of the situation. I think that's pretty much everything I have to tell you about the situation. Pretty horrible one, but this is stuff that happens. This is stuff that has to be covered. So I'll see you guys in the next one.